Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Nick here, and today I wanted to do something that I have seen a ton of content creators do here on YouTube, yet I have yet to wade into those waters, and that is a horror franchises tier list. Now, there's this website called tiermaker.com, I believe. I believe that's what it's called. And you can create a template of your own with your own photos, your own like categories, or you can just look at public templates. Today, I found somebody's public template because I'm going to be honest with you, thinking about all these franchises and having to upload photos of each individual one and create my own. It's not something I'm good at. I'm not a tech person. I also felt like this would be good for the format that I'm currently doing right now with my computer because I've seen a lot of the content creators that do this. They do it exactly like this. They do it as like a long form. Let's go through each one and let's talk about it. So, today, a lot of these on here, you're going to see there's a ton of series on here. Some of these I haven't seen. And thankfully, this has a don't know slash don't remember. So I might be putting some into that category, into that tier, I guess I should say. Now, if you guys are unfamiliar with these lists, S tier is basically like God tier. It's untouchable, it's incredible. A tier is just a step below God tier. It's like, it's damn good, great, fantastic. B is pretty good. C, obviously average. D is below average. E, I would say E is like, I mean, I'm trying to create this on the fly. E would probably be something that's like, it's bad, but it might have some enjoyment. And F is just absolute god awful gutter trash. So we're going to start right off. And the first one we have is The Exorcist. Now, this is a franchise, although a lot of people would say they wish it weren't a franchise. Um, I'm gonna put the Exorcist franchise into B tier. And before anybody gets mad at me, I'm just gonna say, look, I think the original The Exorcist is the greatest horror movie of all time, and I think The Exorcist 3 is obviously fantastic. I think everything else in that series is at best passable. I think that Dominion and Exorcist the Beginning are just mostly forgettable slop. I think that Exorcist Believer is fine, but it's not a movie I'm ever going to run back to go rewatch. And I think that The Heretic is absolute trash. Now, the television series that ran on Fox for 2 seasons is actually pretty good, but law of averages here when a majority of it is not good. But the two that are good are really good. I'm going to put it in B tier. Next up is going to be The Thing. Now, this might surprise some people, but I'm going to put this into A tier. Now, some people might go, oh, well, S tier because of the original The Thing, right? See, I've never been a big fan of the original, The Thing from Outer Space or The Thing from Another World, The Thing from Another World. And it's not that I think it's a bad movie. I've just never really been into older movies like that. And I think that the prequel is fantastic aside from CGI. Like the CGI is a problem, and it has been since the first time I saw that movie. It lines up perfectly with that original film so well. Like you've got moments where you see an axe like in the exact right spot that it was in the original movie. I mean, I love it. I love it. The fact that it seamlessly sets up the original film, or I should say John Carpenter's film, technically, is great, but it's got to go in A tier for me because those practical effects would have made such a huge difference in the prequel, in my opinion. All right, Silent Night, Deadly Night. Hmm, D tier. Look, this might break some people's hearts. I think the original is fun. I like it, and I think the Toy Maker is fun. But I think largely the series as a whole, I think 4 out of 6 of them I would not recommend. And even the two I would recommend, like I like the original, but I wouldn't say it's an all timer personally. And the Toy Maker, I mean, come on. Although I have fun with it, like it's Silent Night, Deadly Night 5. Like, what are we talking about here? Ooh, this is one I actually just rewatched, and I feel like I'm fresh on it and I can give you guys my opinion on the series as a whole. And I feel like I won't be stretching here for my thoughts. And that is Resident Evil. And I'm going to go smack dab into C tier for Resident Evil. Now, the reason for that being, I actually find myself, look, I don't think the first one's aged as well as some people might say it has, or you may think it did if you go back and go, oh, I remember that movie being really good. The effects are pretty shoddy. I could have done without a lot about that movie, but it was a good enough introduction. I think Apocalypse and Extinction, I had a really good time with, and I really liked Retribution. Everything else, No, thanks. I thought Afterlife was garbage. I thought the final chapter was, I mean, maybe fun, but just kind of stupid and was not at all a good send off, in my opinion. And yeah, I just don't think the first one's aged all that well. So I'm going to go in C tier. And if I break some hearts with it, I break some hearts with it. But I don't know. All right. Now we're coming up to The Fly. And The Fly, I'm going to put in B tier simply just because I love The Fly with Jeff Goldblum. Grew up on that movie. That was probably my introduction to body horror. And that transformation scene, we all know that transformation scene is going to live in my head for the rest of my life. It was disgusting. I still think it's some of the best use of practical effects to date. And that's crazy because it's over 30 years old or, yeah, over 30 years old. So wild. Not a huge fan of the sequel. I'm going to be honest with you, but that original film, or I should say that 80s film, is enough to put this into B tier for me. I will be honest, I have not seen the original, The Fly. So I'm laying all my cards out, being honest with you guys. Candyman. Also going to go in B tier with Candyman. The original, I think, is the greatest 90s horror movie, in my opinion. It's my favorite horror movie from that decade, and I think it is the best. And I love the reboot. I think that the reboot was a great film. Not just a good one, I think it was a great film. Rushed ending. I don't really care for how cut down they made that third act. I don't know if that was the studio really going to Nia and saying, hey, we got to cut this down. But I really enjoyed that movie. Farewell to the Flesh. I mean, it's got fun moments, but it's definitely not a great movie. And Day of the Dead is genuine garbage. But I mean, there's a Baywatch chick in it. So overall, I think she's Baywatch or maybe she's Playboy. I don't know. Tell me if I'm misremembering that. But I'm gonna put Candyman solidly in B tier, and I think it belongs there personally. I am trying to see what this one is, guys, and I am struggling. We'll skip that. The Howling. Oh, C tier. I think the original Howling is one of the better werewolf films. Again, I grew up on that movie, and I actually have a soft spot for the marsupials. I know it's not a good movie, but I have a soft spot for it. I had that DVD. It was a snapper case DVD. I still remember to this day as a kid having that snapper case, and I watched that movie to fall asleep so many times. So I'll always have a soft spot in my heart for the marsupials. But the franchise writ large, it's not great. But that original film and the nostalgia I have for the marsupials is enough to put this into C tier, which I think is barely passable. Human Centipede. This might be controversial. F. I just think it's bad, guys. I really do. I watched all of them one time years ago. It achieves being gross out, and I guess that's kind of what it was going for. But not my thing. Not my thing. I will say, I think the greatest thing the Human Centipede did was give us that South Park episode of the Human Centipede. But as far as the film series as a whole, not for me. And I honestly would be totally okay if we never revisited this thing. Like, never revisit it. Let's not do this. Not a fan. So F tier. No, thank you. Some of these guys, like I said, they're hard to see. Boogeyman. Ooh, we were just talking about this, me and Christian. I'm going to go D tier. And that's because I saw the first one as a younger kid. I thought that movie scared the crap out of me. Going back and watching it now, it's not the greatest, but I did have a fun time with it. Saw the second one, did not care for it at all. Thought it was a massive step down. Haven't seen the third one, but I can't imagine it's any better than the second one. And even going back with the rose-colored glasses of being a kid and being scared by the boogeyman, that original film's still not great. So I'm going to put it in D tier. There is some fun to be had there. Now, again, like I said, guys, I think the distinction I'm going to have is like, D tier is going to be like, yeah, it's below average, but like, E tier is going to be, yeah, it's definitely below average. And it's like a guilty pleasure, I guess. Like, you're almost ashamed to admit it. We'll definitely get there. All right. Our first controversial one, Friday the 13th. This is going to piss some people off, but let's do her. C tier. And I feel like I can confidently put that in C tier. And look, there's some great movies in the Friday series. The problem is there are 12 of them. So when you have some great ones and then you have mostly okay to not good ones, I think it just falls right smack dab in the middle. If I'm being totally honest, I don't. And you guys are going to see me be fair here. I promise you. You're going to see me be fair. Friday the 13th, again, has some bangers. Don't get me wrong. It also has some stinkers. I would put part 3, part 6, final chapter, part 2, and Jason X up there in the top end for me. And then after that, I could take or leave all of them. And that includes the original, because you guys know, if you know my channel, I've just never been a huge fan of that original movie. I find it boring. But again, that's just me. I know. Lake Placid, going solidly in C tier. And I believe they made a sequel or 2 to this. I think it was like straight to Sci-Fi. I didn't see them, but that's fine, because I grew up on the Betty White Lake Placid. And that movie was one of my favorite alligator crocodile movies. It still is to this day. I think it's a super fun watch. It's funny as hell. And for like a sci-fi movie that got played on Sci-Fi a lot over and over as a kid, I think it's good. I think it's good. Like I said, can't imagine the sequel or sequels are great. Somebody let me know if they're worth watching, but that original film is enough for me to put this in the average tier. Okay. Open Water, definitely D tier. And I feel pretty comfortable in putting that in D tier. The original movie, I remember watching that and thinking that it was scary, because you're just kind of floating out in the ocean. There's sharks all around you. It's dark out. Like, that would be scary. I think anybody would think that that is scary. The second one, not a fan. Not a fan. We rented that because my mom loved the first one. We rented the second one. I remember as soon as it was over, my mom was like, that was stupid. And I was just like, damn, I agree with her. So yeah, never been a big fan of any of those movies, honestly. So D tier. The first one's good enough, I guess. Scanners. This has never been one of my personal favorites, guys. I'm gonna put it in D tier. Some fun to be had there. Definitely more of your lowbrow horror. It doesn't age as well, but I do think there's enough fun to say, you know what, whatever. I'll give it a slight pass. Though if somebody asked me if I recommended it, I would say no. I would definitely say no. Okay. The Evil Dead. Oh, we're going S tier. S tier for Evil Dead. I feel very confident in that. Very comfortable with that. Look, the Evil Dead series, I feel like, is one of those series, and you guys have, I'm sure, heard me talk about this before, that I feel like does not have any misses. And that's just my opinion. I understand that, but I really don't think it has any misses. I think the weakest movie in the series is probably arguably Evil Dead Rise. And I still think that's a very good movie. So if your worst is still pretty damn good, how can I do anything but S tier here? Like, I can't. So I'm going to let you guys know right now, Terror Tunes, have not seen it. Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. Yeah, definitely not seen it. Scary Movie. Ooh. C tier. And this would have gone to B tier if it weren't for Scary Movie 5. And I will just say that right now. Look, Scary Movie 4 is not great. Scary Movie 3 was the last one that you could make the argument was pretty damn good. That's when they started to go more into like the toilet childish humor that wasn't as funny, but it still had some moments, enough moments that were reminiscent of 1 and 2. 4 was just pretty dumb with a couple of belly laughs here and there, but not great. And 5 was genuinely awful. It was garbage. I actually can't wait for the next one. I hope they bring back the original cast. I can't imagine they won't. And I really, really hope that they are raunchy and they test the limits of today's society. I really do. But yeah, it's going to go in C tier. Those first 2 are incredible, by the way, though. Wishmaster, going to be honest, have not seen them. And if I have, I don't remember. But I know I need to get on them because a buddy of mine did send me a couple of them recently. The Lost Boys. Oh, yeah, C tier. Look, the original one, it's a classic. Everybody knows it's a classic. It's not necessarily scary. It's fun. It's funny. It is very much a product of its time. It ages really, really well. The Tribe, I believe, is the second one, if I'm not mistaken. And that one is trash. The Thirst, I mean, what's the best you can say? It's like a rung above The Tribe. It's still bad. So, yeah, The Lost Boys, simply just for the first movie, it goes into C tier. Honestly, if it were like The Lost Boys and just The Tribe, or no, The Thirst, I'm getting these confused. If it was The Lost Boys and the third film, it probably would have gone into B tier, because I can forgive enough about the third film to say, you know what, this one outweighs that. But that second movie is booty hole. Ginger Snaps. D tier. Really like that movie. Grew up on that movie. I know it's not great, and nobody should ever make the argument that it is great. There's a lot of nostalgia there. Haven't seen anything else in the series. I believe there's a sequel or two. But that first movie is one that I have a lot of love for. It was another one that I had on DVD. And I can't even remember, like, thinking back to those days, if they were actually like my DVDs or like my mom's or my older siblings. We had like a shelf in the foyer of our house that had a bunch of movies on them. That was one of them. Don't know if I should have been watching that as a kid, but I had a fun time with it. I actually need to go back and rewatch that soon. Oh, okay. This one's going to be hard. Huh. Okay. I Spit on Your Grave. I'm going D tier for different reasons. Um, I'm just going to tell you guys right now, the subject matter of the I Spit on Your Grave movies is just not something that I can watch like super easily. It's just always been something that bothers me. Totally get it. It's film, it's fiction. It's not going to offend me. Don't worry. But it's just not something I've ever really been able to stomach all that easily. And especially when it's like elongated, like it is in I Spit on Your Grave, it's just something that I'm not a fan of. I did actually watch all of the movies. The only one I haven't seen is the most recent one, which I think was like a requel or a remake. I can't remember. I had no interest. I streamed the first three back to back to back, in consecutive nights. And there's some merit to them. The revenge aspect is fun. I do like the revenge aspect, but to get there is really kind of a painful watch. So I'm putting it in D tier. Ooh, Phantasm. Phantasm is going squarely in C tier. And I'm going to tell you why. Because the first Phantasm movie is great. The second Phantasm is great. The third one, it's when it really started to fall off, but there's still enough fun to be had there. Four, no thank you. And Ravager, genuinely one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. I appreciate that, Coscarelli was able to get Angus Scrimm back and get a lot of the original players back to do one more, even though they had a tight budget. Angus was sick. But you should have not. You should have just not. A Nightmare on Elm Street. Oh, I am going to go A tier. I am. Again, with these tier lists, guys, it's almost impossible to be totally unbiased. I mean, we're going to have some of our bias show through here. That's just kind of the way it is. You can't really help it. Look, I think that the first film, the second film, the third film, and the fourth film in the Nightmare series are all genuinely great, like varying degrees of great. I think that five had a lot of promise. I love the gothic, atmosphere and aesthetic that it goes for. I just think it was a rush script. Freddy's Dead, you guys know I do not like that one at all. New Nightmare, I think it's solid. Freddy versus Jason is fun, and I've always had a soft spot for the remake. So you're talking like 3/4 of your franchise being varying levels of pretty damn good to great. It's going in A tier. I can't go in S tier. I think I should it's probably clear by now. The only time something's going to go in S tier is if I feel like it is a series that does not have a genuine miss. So there's that. And with that said, we'll go Alien into A tier. And the reason being for that is that I think that the only genuine miss in the Alien series is Resurrection. I also don't care all that much for Covenant. I know a lot of people like that after Prometheus. I didn't. I loved what Prometheus set up. I wanted to see them really flesh that out more. And it seemed like Scott wanted to have it both ways. He wanted to follow up Prometheus, but he also wanted to give the fans a lot of what they complained about not seeing in Prometheus. And it just feels disjointed. But one real miss, it's going into A tier. Look, those first two movies are great. The assembly cut of Alien 3 is a really good time. I don't give a shit what anybody says. Totally weird. Get it. But I really, really dug it. I guess you could consider the AVP movies in here. The first one is fun. Requiem is terrible, but we're not going to hold that against the Alien. Beware the Blob. I believe it's just the Blob. I don't even remember. I know I've seen the one from the 80s one time, and that was after Rob Zombie had been announced to be a director for a remake. I was like, I want to check this out. I don't even remember it. So I don't want to unfairly rank it, guys. The Omen. It's all for you, Damien. Oh, goodness. Where are we going here? I'm really glad I didn't do this live, guys, because I would not be able to keep up with the chat and the arguments that would be happening. So this was the perfect forum for me to do this in. You know what? Well, let me close this ad really quick. We're going to put The Omen into C tier. I think that the original is a classic for a reason. It has its place in horror history, and I will always respect it. Not a huge fan, but I get why it's loved so much. I actually like Damien the Omen 2 quite a bit. I think it's a solid sequel that not enough people talk about. Always had a soft spot for the Omen 4, because Dominic Cawthon and Gerard, but it's not a good movie. It's not a good movie. And the first Omen is my favorite of the series, and I think it is easily the best, in my opinion. So I'll put it in C tier. There's a couple of pretty good movies in there. There's a couple that are just not very good. So I'll put it in C tier. I definitely feel like that's being fair. Critters, I mean, let's be honest, D tier. They're D-list characters, they're D-list movies. That is what they're there for. Having said that, they are very much, they are what they are. In the sense that, like, you're going to be getting kind of like corny schlock. Not as bad as Hobgoblins, dear God. And Hobgoblins better not be on here. I actually didn't check. But you know what you're getting yourself in for. It's just like if you watch a Puppet Master movie or a Children of the Corn movie, you should know by the time you're going to watch one of them what you signed up for. If you didn't, well, that's on you. The Hitcher, we'll go in C tier. I like the original well enough. I actually prefer the remake. I don't think any of it is particularly great. I'll be totally honest with you. I had fun with the remake. I couldn't tell you much about the original. So my memory really is just the remake, which I did have a good time with. You guys also have to remember, I was a teenager of the 2000s. So when all these, this remake craze was happening, I was watching all of these. I was renting all of them from Blockbuster. Half the time I didn't even know it was a remake of a film that had already come before. So yeah, I'm going to close some of these ads. This is so dumb that there's so many ads. Cloverfield. This might surprise some of y'all. I'm going B tier. I'm going B tier because I think the first Cloverfield is one of the best, like, disaster monster kaiju movies I've seen. Also one of my favorite found footage movies ever. But one thing to know about me, if you guys don't already know this, is I love disaster movies. I love big monster movies, and I eat that stuff up. 10 Cloverfield Lane, technically a follow-up. It was forced to be, let's be honest. But a damn good thriller. Sorry, I had to cough. Damn good thriller. And then the Cloverfield Paradox is garbage. Absolute garbage. Look, don't do another Cloverfield movie if you're going to do what Paradox did. Just leave it alone forever. Children of the Corn. F tier. Our second introduction into F tier. Look, it's bad, man. It's just bad. In fairness, I have not seen the latest two. The reboot and then the one that was before that, so I'll be honest. Man. And a lot of them were one-time watches for me, aside from the original. I liked the original well enough. And I think 3 is surprisingly okay. But this is a bad series. It is a bad series. No, thank you. Creep Show. We're going to go into C tier. Love the original. The second one is absolutely a step down from the first one. Let's be honest, guys. Even if you have a lot of affection for it, it's 100% a step down. And that's okay to admit. Never saw 3. Heard only bad things about 3. No, thank you. But that first one is enough to put this in a passing grade tier. And I feel like that's fair. Honestly, guys, based off of quality alone, I feel like I'm being fair here. And also having only one so far in S tier should tell you guys I'm not doing this based off of my love of a series. I love A Nightmare on Elm Street. I love Candyman. I love The Exorcist. I'm going to try to be fair somewhat here. Okay? I Know What You Did Last Summer. Also C tier. I will say this series has the potential to move up into B tier territory with this requel. We'll see. If it's good, like if it's like a Scream level reboot, it can go into B. Look, really enjoy the first one. Grew up on it. I still Know What You Did Last Summer. It's kind of dumb. It's really goofy at times, but it's also kind of fun. I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer. Dear God, the bottom of the freaking barrel. The Brotherhood. Never seen it. Oh, let's see. Hostel. Hostel. Ooh, C tier. And I feel like I'm being fair there. I really, really, I have fond memories of the first one. Watched that as a family, rented it from Blockbuster one night. I think the second one is my favorite. It's a little darker, a little grittier. I dig that a lot. Did not like at all the straight to video third one that takes place in Vegas. They wanted to Americanize it, I guess, to try to scare American audiences because it's not scary if you just don't travel to Europe, right? There's a lot of really inventive kills in these movies. There's a lot to love there. There's also a lot to question and just go like, what's the point? And the third movie really sullied this series, in my opinion. So I think C tier is fair. Uh, Blade. Oh, goodness. B tier. I'll put it in B tier. And it might be crazy, for some of you guys listening to this, you might go, holy crap, what? Like, I've never heard you talk about Blade. Again, 90s baby. Do you think I haven't seen the Blade movies? Like, we all watched these. Wesley Snipes was the shit. Here's the thing. The original, I think, is great. I actually like Blade 2 quite a bit as well. Blade Trinity. Anything else to say? Nah. They almost had it, man. They almost had it. Dropped the ball on that one. So, no, thank you. The Amityville Horror. Oh, this is hard. Oh, man. You know what? I'm putting it in D tier, and here's why. The original is a classic. That's absolutely true. The remake is one of the best remakes, in my opinion. Everything else in between, not good. And technically, on top of that, every one of those shitty Amityville toilet whatever movies is technically an Amityville movie, even if Amityville doesn't want to be associated with it. Talk about public domain gone wrong. Holy shit. Again, the first one, it is a classic. It's never been one of my personal favorites, but I respect its placement, in horror history. But again, I think the thing that I gravitate to here is the remake, and even then, that's not enough to put this in above D. Cabin Fever, D tier as well. And I'll just be honest with you. The first one, again, like I said with some of these movies already before, this was a rented it as a family, watched it on a Friday night kind of thing. Two scenes will live in infamy. Three scenes in this movie will live in infamy in my head forever. Pancakes, her shaving her legs, and dude's hand going down the pants and being bloody. Those three scenes will never leave my head so long as I live. Spring Fever, not good. Patient Zero, not good. The remake, Jesus Christ, one of the most pointless remakes I've ever seen in my life. So that first movie is the only thing that is really giving this a pulse. So I'll put it in D. It barely doesn't fail. So thank the original movie for that. Have not seen Evil Bong, guys. Going to be honest with you. I know some people are like, what? Shake, rattle, and roll. That was a ride at Kings Island. Never seen it. Feast. Another one I've never seen, guys. I know. Let's see. Oh, dear God. We are not doing all of these. We are not doing it. You know what? Let's do the one that everybody wants me to do real quick right now. Halloween. Oh, yeah. This is hard. Do I beat? I'm going A tier. I'm going A tier. Yes, a little bit of my bias is probably showing. Whatever. I don't really care all that much. Look, fair is fair. I think that I am a little biased. I also think that Halloween has some all-time great movies in that series, even if they're not some of my personal favorites. Everybody loves Halloween 2, even though I've always been lukewarm on it. Everybody loves Halloween 4, even though I've always been lukewarm on it. Halloween H2O is pretty well regarded. I'm just okay with it. You do have the Resurrections of the world. I also do have to be fair to the large group of people that hate the zombie movies and Halloween Ends. So it can't go to S tier. I got to be honest, guys. Even as a Halloween fan, there are misses. There are in my opinion, there's probably about like 2 certified bona fide, like, no thank yeah, no thanks movies. So I'm being fair, I think. I put it right onto your I put it right on par with Nightmare. If that's not fair, well, I don't know what to tell you guys. Ah, let's see. Child's Play. I love how this is just not going up. No, don't worry, guys. It's not going there. Child's Play. We're going to go. No. Wow, I love this. I love this so much. Child's Play is going to go into B tier. Yeah. I mean, look, Child's Play, Child's Play 2, I think are both great movies. Child's Play 3 is a lot of fun. I think Bride of Chucky is a lot of fun. Not a fantasy to Chucky. Really liked Curse of Chucky. Cult of Chucky, no thanks. And the remake I liked. So, yeah. Yeah, I think the series has more hits than misses. I'll put it in B tier. I feel like that's fair. Anaconda, we're going to D tier. The first movie, there's a lot of love for that. You know, I grew up with that movie too. It's not great by any stretch of the imagination. And The Hunt for the Blood Orchid, I couldn't even tell you. I watched it like twice. I remember thinking it was okay, but very unmemorable. And if you're unmemorable, well, you're making a mistake already. So, Final Destination. This is solidly going to go in B tier. And that is because I think the only miss that the Final Destination franchise has is the Final Destination. Genuinely. I think that all the other ones are varying levels of good to great. Really looking forward to Bloodlines. Pray to God that it is not the Final Destination situation, but if it is, it is. So yeah, I'm going to put that in B tier. I feel confident there. Fright Night, we're also going to go B tier with Fright Night. Fright Night is one of those, similar to Child's Play, I think. Well, actually, Fright Night, I think the weakest movie of the Fright Night movies is Fright Night. Oh, no. Damn. Shit. No, you know what? You know what? Fright Night Part 2, or Fright Night 2, the Fright Night remake, those are all fun to good. I like all three of those. If Fright Night 2, The New Blood, that movie's trash. But 3/4 are good movies. I'm putting it in B tier. I feel comfortable doing that. Hellraiser. C tier. Again, trying to be fair here, guys. Look, I love Hellraiser. I actually just watched Hellraiser tonight, the first movie. I love Hellraiser. It's always been one of my favorite horror series. I got to be honest, about half of them are pretty bad. If that's the case, it's a wash. And if it's a wash, it's average. It's a C. However, I still think it's a character that deserves to be mined more. It's a shame that it hasn't been a world that I'd love to see mined more. So yeah, you know what? Honestly, can I just get rid of this E tier? Clear row, delete row. Let's see. Okay, yeah, we'll just yeah. This person was overthinking it when they did an E tier. What are you doing? All right. The Hills Have Eyes. C tier. I think the original is a good movie. It's a classic. It's not one I go back to a lot, though, because it is one of those movies. Wes Craven had a couple of these movies where you go back and you watch them and you're like, oh, this did not age really well. Didn't have the money behind it. And the remake is awesome. I think it's an awesome remake. Now, Wes Craven's sequel to The Hills Have Eyes, and I know why he did it. It was basically just to get another picture. Hey, come back, do this sequel, and then you can do this movie you want to do. So his love, for it was not there. He did not want to be there doing that. It's god awful. And the sequel to the remake, I remember it being better than the original part 2. Couldn't tell you much more about it, to be honest with you. It was very unmemorable. Let's just say that. Insidious. Where are we going here, Nick? Where are we going? C tier. I think that the first one is great. I think that the second one is underrated for sure. I don't care for the third one. I think that The Last Key is pretty good. And I think that The Red Door was bad. I'll just be honest with you guys. And I was really, really disappointed. I was really looking forward to the return of the Lambert family and just did not do it for me. So I feel like there's a couple good movies in here. That first one has some of the best jump scares in modern horror. So I think it squarely lands itself in C tier. And I feel like that is fair. Also, guys, I shouldn't, I don't think I should have to say this, but If you disagree with any of them, just let me know in the comment section. These videos are fun. It's going to be a while. It's a long watch, but I hope you guys are enjoying it. Jaws. Jaws is B tier. Jaws is B tier because of Jaws and Jaws 2. Those are two all-timer movies for me. I don't care what anybody says. Is Jaws 2 inherently weaker than Jaws? Yeah, okay, sure, whatever. Don't care. It's still a really good movie. Jaws 3D, I mean, come on. It's got Dennis Quaid. Jaws the Revenge, telepathic shark. I get it. But yeah, I'm going to put it in B tier. I feel like that's fair. Like I said, those two are enough to get it there. Jeepers Creepers. C tier. The original, I think, is one of the best horror movies of the 2000s. Hands down. Like, I genuinely think it's incredible. The second one, nowhere near as good. A lot of fun. But 3 and 4, wow. And they're different levels of bad. Jeepers Creepers 3 is terrible, where it's like it thinks it's good. It's a movie that thinks it's a good movie. And like it's taking itself super seriously. And you're like, this movie actually thinks that it's good. And then Reborn is like, oh no, we know we're trash. So you can almost have some fun with it. But guess what? They're both not good. So, Wrong Turn. Squarely going into F tier. Yep. Another addition to F tier. It's bad, guys. It's bad. The original, it was that blockbuster era again. I had fun with the original. I still own the original. It's the only one I own, actually. As the series went on, it just got dumber and dumber to the point where it wasn't even really Wrong Turn anymore. The remake, I've heard different things. I've heard some people say they actually enjoyed that the remake was a different take. And I've heard some people say it pissed them off that the remake wasn't what Wrong Turn really was. I was somewhere in the middle where I was like, it's a solid movie. It's well made. There was some care behind it, but I just left kind of feeling hollow. I didn't really care. And I feel like that's a problem, y'all. Dude, these ads are going to be the death of me. Okay. We really only have one S tier so far. That's crazy. What I'm trying to do now, guys, is I'm trying to like pick the ones that I'm really familiar with to give my fair, opinion on. Without just adding a bunch of stuff into the don't know, don't remember, because, there's some stuff in there. Some of these are genuinely not great. Pumpkinhead, we're going into D tier, simply just for that original movie. I watched that original movie about a year, not this past October, but the October before that. It was nice. It was a trip down memory lane to go back and watch that movie. It's not a great movie by any means. The second one, I mean, it's been probably a decade, but I remember having a good time with it. Don't, attack me for that, guys. I haven't seen 3 and 4. They were straight to video, so I can't imagine they're great. We'll see. I'm sure I'll eventually watch them. We need a remake, though. We need a remake. The Ring. Oh, this one's, you know what? I'm going to put this in C tier, but I'm going to explain this a little bit, guys. I think The Ring is great. Genuinely great. One of the scariest movies I saw as a kid was The Ring. Hands down, bar none, period. Having said that, Ring 2, not very good. Passable. I would say it's passable. But as the years have gone on, I'm like, this is not very good. Rings, you're kidding, right? Like, you're joking. That movie sucks. That movie is awful. So yeah, we're going in C tier. From Dusk Till Dawn, I'll put it in C tier. I really like that first movie. I grew up on that. Again, if any of you are my age or around my age, you remember like a lot. You probably have a lot of these same core memories that I do. So I had fun with it. It was never one that I've loved, though. Tremors, I'll put it in D tier. I like the first two. I think they're up to 7 movies now, or 8. I got to be honest with you. I haven't seen any since 5. They just lost me. They really did. But if I'm missing one that's good, let me know and I'll seek it out. But yeah, Tremors is not one that it's just, I think the first 2 movies are enough to give this a, just above failing grade, but it's not a great series from what I've seen. Yeah, never seen fucking Mega Shark. Are you kidding me? Still have never seen Ju-on, guys. I know, Mark. Don't be mad at me. Carrie. Oh, that means I have to include the fucking TV movie, right? And The Rage. We'll go in C tier because of that. Love, love, love the remake with Chloe Grace Moretz and Julianne Moore. And I like the original. I know this is a hot take. If you guys are new to me, I actually prefer the remake of Carrie to the original. I know, right? Wild. Um, yeah, it's 50-50. So we'll put it in C tier. I feel like that's fair. Ouija, D tier. Because there's only 2 movies and only one of them is passable. And even then, Ouija Origin of Evil is not great. I love Mike Flanagan. Don't get me wrong. Love Mike Flanagan. And I think it looked just so much better in comparison to Ouija because Ouija was really bad. So I'll put it in D tier. Mike Flanagan saves it from failing entirely. Prom Night. D tier. The original's fun. Prom Night 2. I'm sorry, guys. No thanks. Never been a fan. And the remake, I saw that in theaters on a date when I was a teenager. And I remember like multiple points, even as a teenager, sitting in that movie theater being like, this kind of sucks. Never been my thing. But the original is enough to, I guess keep it from totally failing. The Purge. So I haven't seen the Forever Purge. It's the only one I haven't seen. I thought those trailers looked absolutely horrible for it, but people said it was actually solid enough. I'll put it in C tier. I actually really liked the original. Some people said they preferred Anarchy so much more than the original. I liked it. They're different movies, very different. They went from the home invasion after the first one to kind of the open world, like going through it. Election year, I thought was solid too. Especially as an American that always has issues with our politicians, or at least should. You should never trust your elected leaders ever. Okay, they're not always looking out for you. Okay, most of the time they're actually not. And the first Purge I thought was unique. It was nice to see how it kind of began. So I'll put it in C tier. I think that's fair. Let's see. I'm just gonna grab some that are stuff. Okay, Paranormal Activity. Ooh. I'm putting it in B tier. I know that might piss some people off. And if it does, it does. I mean, I'm sorry, guys. I'm not trying to piss you off. I just I feel like that's fair. I think that Paranormal Activity, the original, the second one, and the third one, I think are all varying levels of good to great. I think 4 is bad. I think the marked ones is actually kind of underrated. I think the Ghost Dimension is bad. And I think I can't even remember what the last one was called. Next of Kin. I think it's bad too. But there's 3 like great movies in there. So I'll put it in B tier. I feel like that's fair. When about half of your series is great, come on, that's fair. Saw. Gotta be fair here. Do I? I'll put it in C tier. I'll be fair because I know some people will bitch and moan and yell at me if I put it in, B tier. I was heavily leaning toward B, but I put it in C tier just to not get people all riled up. I think that the first movie, the third movie, the sixth movie, and Saw X are great movies. I think all 4 of those movies are great movies. I think Saw 2, Saw 4 are good movies. I think the final chapter, Saw 5, passable. I think Jigsaw and Spiral, booty hole. So that's where I'm at with that. Return of the Living Dead. I've only seen the first 2. I'm gonna put it in C just because it's the original is my favorite zombie movie. So that's enough to put it there. And I had fun with the second one. I did. But I'm gonna tell you guys, I'm not rushing out to go see Rave to the Grave. I'm just not. No matter how many times Christian says it actually has some merit to it. Yeah, I don't know about that, buddy. Love you. But does not look like my thing. Sharknado, have not seen it. What the hell is this? The ABCs of Death. Oh, yeah, I've heard of that. Didn't see it. Ginger Dead Man, never saw that. Bunny Man, never saw that. Some of you guys that watch some of this schlock are probably like, oh my God, you're missing out. I don't know if I am. I don't know if I am. Night of the Living Dead, C tier. The original is a classic, and I think the remake is actually really solid too. Even though I'm not a huge zombie fan, I feel like it's totally fair to put this in a passing tier. I really do. I don't think it's the best that zombie films can be, in my opinion. But solid enough in and of itself, and I feel like that putting it in C tier is fair. But, if you're a bigger fan of it, I'm sure that might have offended you. But what fun is this if not to, ruffle some feathers? Okay. Let's see. We're really filling this bad boy up. I'm trying to see if I can scroll to the top. There we go. Yeah. Okay. Scream is going into S tier, or not S tier, A tier. And it's funny, guys, because this isn't a top 3 series for me. Some of you guys might go, oh, of course, you're a 90s kid. You're probably a freaking like Scream fanatic. Actually, no. I feel like this is just subjective. The only movie in the series that I feel like is kind of weak is Scream 4. Now, it's just my opinion, but that being the case, I feel like it belongs in A tier. But it's not an S tier because there is one in there that I would say is a borderline miss, if not just a genuine miss. So, trying to be fair there. It. Oh, A tier. A tier for me. Only thing holding it back is the second half of the 90s miniseries. Just gonna be honest with you. I've heard people say in recent years that, oh, no, it's actually kind of passable. It's actually kind of good. I'm sorry, I disagree. I've seen it, watched it a lot, and even watched it again recently a year or two ago. And that second half just pales in comparison to the first half. I mean, it absolutely does. To the point where it's a bummer. Like, it's a bummer. It's like, man, we hit the ground running there. All right. Blair Witch Project is going firmly in C tier. The original is probably arguably the greatest found footage movie ever made. And I like the sequel from 2016. Book of Shadows, not my thing. And before all of you say again, because you've said so many times, oh, Nick, give it another chance. Yeah, I've done that like 3 times now, and it still hasn't changed for me. I don't think it's going to change, guys. I really don't. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre is going solidly into C tier. The original, classic. Part 2 is fun. Third one, fine, mostly boring. The Next Generation, I understand the chaotic nature that some people gravitate towards. Not my thing. The remake in the beginning, I really like. Haven't really cared for one since the beginning, to be honest with you. So, C tier. Okay. Some of these I'm not even going to waste my time with, guys. Like, I'm just going to be honest with you because you'll be here an hour and a half. The Descent. Let's see. The Descent goes in B tier. And guess what? This could have been S tier. Could have been S tier. Except for that second movie and its third act. Just completely undermining the incredible ending of the first movie, the arc of the first movie. I don't even like to talk about it. Pisses me off. Sinister. This is going to go solidly in B tier for me. Most people agree that the first one is really good. I actually happen to be someone that prefers the second one. But I have issues with both movies. I don't think either one is incredible. And I will meet you halfway and say that I think objectively, like, the first one's probably a better made movie. It's more effective, what it's trying to get at. So I'll meet you halfway and I'll put it in B tier. I'm not going to be totally off the wall here. Psycho. You know what? Yeah, we'll do B tier. And if you're more of like an entry level horror person, you haven't seen a ton yet, maybe you're younger. Let me just tell you something. The original is the original. It's a classic. It is what it is for a reason, and it belongs where it is in horror cinema. It has earned its place there, and that's totally fair. And I will always respect it. Game recognized game. Um, the second one is super, super underrated. More people are talking about it now. It actually has the hard task of making you feel like empathetic toward Norman, and it does it. Like it actually does it. Psycho 3 is probably my least favorite of the original 4. Psycho 4 is actually damn good. I'm pretty sure that was like a made-for-TV movie too. It's actually pretty damn good. The remake, one of the most pointless remakes ever. Seriously. I said the same thing with Cabin Fever. And then Bates Motel, I think, is a fantastic show. Fantastic show. So I'm gonna put it in B tier, and I feel confident in that. I really do. The Silence of the Lambs. We are going to go. We're gonna go A tier. No, not S tier. Not S tier. Come on, Nick. A tier. I'll be fair there. The miss here is Hannibal Rising, in my opinion. That's the miss here. I think that Silence of the Lambs is one of the greatest movies ever made. I think that Hannibal, yeah, it's not Silence of the Lambs. I still think it's a damn good movie. I think Red Dragon, massively slept on. If you want to put Manhunter in here too, I know a lot of people have a lot of love for Manhunter. Never been a huge fan of it. I don't hate it. I just always think of like the Brian Cox and Anthony Hopkins differently. But Hannibal Rising, no. I get what you were trying to do, but you didn't do it. But it's going in A tier. The Conjuring. This is probably where I'm going to show my age a little bit. Are we going to, well, is this the whole universe? I think it has to be the whole universe. Okay, we'll do the whole universe. We'll be fair. C tier. I'm just going to tell you guys, if this was just the mainline Conjuring movies, this was going in A tier. And only reason it would have gone in and wouldn't have gone into S tier is because of The Devil Made Me Do It. I think the first two are genuinely incredible horror films, in my opinion. But if we're doing the whole universe as a whole, there's a lot in there that's just not great. The Nun, not very good. The Curse of La Llorona, I don't care. They try to retroactively say, oh, well, not really. Yeah, not very good. Annabelle, bad, just plain bad. So it's just going to get a passing grade overall for doing the whole universe. Oh, Leprechaun. I really. We'll do D tier. I feel like that's fair, guys. I mean, come on. Cut me some slack here. Even if you like a couple of the Leprechaun movies, it is truly a D-list villain, a D-list series. It just is. And I actually rewatched those movies 2 years ago when we covered it on the podcast. If you guys are fans of You Need a Horror Podcast, you will have seen that. I had refreshed myself on a lot of those movies, and they are mostly bad. They really are. Sleepaway Camp, I'll put it into C tier. I think the original is a cult classic for a reason. That ending did genuinely shock me. I actually really liked the second one too. It was one that grew on me. 3, I'll be honest, did not care for at all. Sorry if people love that one. And then I haven't seen the fourth one, Return to Sleepaway Camp, which I've heard is like a remake, reboot, requel, whatever the fuck. Yeah, no thanks. Heard it was bad. Silent Hill. Shout out my buddy Mark. Looking forward to Return to Silent Hill later this year. I'm going to solidly put this into C tier. If Revelation could have been a little bit better, this is B tier, A tier territory. Really, really is. Revelation is that bad. Now, if Return to Silent Hill is good, this is going into B or A. So we will revisit that hopefully by the end of this year. Hopefully that movie does come out. We don't have any hitches with that because I will be pissed. Predator. Come on, guys. I think it's fair to put it in C tier, right? The original's a classic. I don't think the second one's very good. Even if you have a soft spot for it, I don't think it's very good. Predators, I like Predators. I think it's solid enough. The Predator, I think, is garbage. Prey is really good. I like the first AVP. I think Requiem is trash. C tier. C tier. A tier character, if not S tier character. But the series as a whole isn't. Oh, this makes me angry. Black Christmas is going to go solidly into B tier for me. I think that the original is the greatest Christmas horror film. Right up there with Halloween in the 70s, in my opinion, just as horror in general. I think 2006 is a buttload of fun. My most fun Christmas film, the horror film to watch. 2019 really took this thing down like 2 pegs, and it really pisses me off that that movie even exists and ruined what was otherwise incredible. All right. The Shining sadly has to go into A tier because of the, is it a miniseries or a TV movie? I can't remember. I watched it one time. Pretty sure it came out in the 90s. Wasn't a huge fan. Without that, this is S tier. Undoubtedly, it's S tier. But because of that, it's A tier. Doctor Sleep and The Shining, 2 all-timers for me. I mean, if you guys have heard me talk about Doctor Sleep, you know I prefer it to The Shining. I know that that is a hot take. It just is what it is. My Bloody Valentine, we're going to go into D tier. The first one, it's a cult classic, a lot like Sleepaway Camp. I think that a lot of people love it. They have reverence for it, but I don't think many people would argue that it's like, oh, this is one of the greatest horror movies ever made. And then My Bloody Valentine 3D, while it's fun, I still don't think that's super good either. I think it's D tier. I really do. And again, some of that's my bias. Just never been a huge fan. House of Thousand Corpses, which I would imagine just means the Firefly trilogy. We're going to put into C tier. House of Thousand Corpses being my favorite. Devil's Rejects probably being objectively the best, the most well-made of the 3. 3 from Hell being just a movie that didn't need to exist. I mean, I don't know what else to say. It honestly bothers me when I go back and I just think about how that movie exists. Genuinely. Urban Legend, I'm putting into D tier, guys. I know a lot of kids from the 90s had a lot of reverence for it. I never really did. I liked the first one well enough, and I didn't care for anything else after that. To be totally honest, I know you got some horror alumni in there. They're very much a product of their time, but they were never for me. Zombieland. This is interesting to put into a horror listing, but we'll go ahead and we'll put that in B tier. Because I think both movies, I think the first movie is genuinely great. I think Double Tap is fun. I really hope they do a third one, but they're not groundbreaking or anything like that, but they're fun. We'll do a couple more here, guys, of ones that I can comfortably tell you where I'd put it, that I have enough of a recollection for. VHS. I have not seen the most recent 2, but I'm going to put it in C tier. I really like the first one, really like the second one. I think the second one's my favorite. Viral, I thought was garbage, but I heard that the next ones are better. So I'm looking forward to that. Pet Sematary. Okay, this is a bummer. This would have gone into A tier. I'm going to let you guys know that right now. But because of Bloodlines, it's going into B tier. Without Pet Sematary 2 and without Bloodlines, this is S tier. In my opinion, I think that the original is one of my favorite horror films ever made, and I think the remake is super solid. But Pet Sematary Bloodlines is garbage. Pet Sematary 2, yeah. Okay, so they actually did split these up, so I didn't have to necessarily include this. AVP, we're doing D. The first one is fun, but it's not a great movie. Requiem, genuine dog shit. Jurassic Park. Me. I'm putting this in A tier. I think most people would say the biggest miss is, most people would probably say Dominion. I wouldn't. I'd say The Lost World. But even then, that's the only one I don't care for. I like every other Jurassic Park movie. Also, I'm an easy lay for dinosaurs. So, yeah. Let's see. 47 meters down. This is going to go solidly into C tier. There's only 2 movies. They're 50-50. They're 1 out of 2. I think the first one is really good. I think the second one is not very good. And damn the first one for being good, because then I bought the second one on Blu-ray, watched it one time, and wished I hadn't had bought it. So, Salem's Lot. I'm gonna put this. I gotta put it in C. I have to. I think that the Toby Hooper miniseries is great. Scared the crap out of me as a kid. That's it, though. That's really it. I mean, everything else to do with Salem's Lot that's been adapted for the screen, I just don't think is very good. I really, really don't. And it's sad because it's one of my favorite Stephen King books, too. If you guys haven't read Salem's Lot, please do yourself a favor and do so. It is genuinely great. One of his finest novels, period. That is peak Stephen King, in my opinion. Okay. A Quiet Place. You know what? Surprisingly, we're going to put A Quiet Place into B tier because I love the first two movies. Haven't seen Day One. It got good reviews, but even if Day One is just average, I think the first two are great. So I think it belongs in B tier. Some people would probably even make the argument for A tier or S tier. And to be fair, I can't speak to that yet because I have not seen it. Day One. The Messengers, F. Another addition to F. That movie sucked. Pretty sure there's a sequel too, but that movie sucked. I'm sorry, guys. Don't Breathe, C tier. You know, the first movie's really good until a moment, and you're like, oh God, what is this shit? You know? And then I don't even know what this is. I can't even see what that logo is, guys. So I have to put it there because I don't know. But after that, guys, it's just like, you know, the second one is fun. It's not good. It's not good at all. Troll. Have not seen Troll, guys. Gonna be honest with you. Let's see. Hatchet. Hatchet goes into D tier. I've only seen the first two. I liked them well enough, but even watching them and enjoying them well enough, I guess it's, you know, it's one of those movies where as you're watching it, you're kind of like, this isn't great though, you know? And whenever you have that moment, you got to be fair when you're doing a ranking like this and you got to go, okay. Chrome Skull, I haven't seen. I'm trying to get the ones I haven't seen out of the way so I can, I don't know if that's, yeah. The Dentist, haven't seen that. Necromance. Is that Necromantic? Necromancer? Whatever that is. Extro. Do not know. Contracted. Do not know. Dead Snow. Haven't seen it. Invasion of the Body Snatchers. The inspiration for Halloween 3. I'll put it in C tier. I think that the original is pretty good. I also, funny enough, if you guys don't know this, the movie Invasion with Nicole Kidman and Daniel Craig is actually loosely based off of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, if not just like outright based off of it. And I enjoy that movie too. So I'll put that in C tier. I will. I might catch shit for it. I don't care. The Strangers. This is going into B tier. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, Chapter 1 put this into B tier. Chapter 1 put this into B tier because it was that bad. I love the original, love Pray at Night. Without Chapter 1, that would have gone into S tier. Yeah, I said it. Tales from the Hood, haven't seen it. Bikini Bloodbath. Yeah, no. Still haven't seen The Toxic Avenger, guys. I know. Waxwork, have not seen it. Chud, have not seen it. Subspecies. I think I saw the first one. Can't remember, though. Happy Death Day. I'm going to shake it up. S tier. I mean, there's only 2 movies, and I love both of them. That's another thing you guys have to, take into account here before anybody gets mad at me. Understand that the less movies you have, the better chance you have of getting into S tier. If you only have 2 movies, and me, the person doing this, loves both of those movies, I got nothing to complain about. It's going into S tier. Hopefully we get a third one, and if the third one's not as good, well, then it won't be an S tier. See No Evil. I'm sure you guys heard, if you listen to the podcast, Christian and I talked about this recently. I still have not seen the second one, but I actually had a good time with the first one when I was a teenager. That was a Mountain Dew and Cheetos Friday night watch in my buddy's basement. We had fun with it. I'll put that in C tier. House on Haunted Hill. There's a ton of variations of this story, whether it be a haunting or the haunting, haunting of Hill House, different variations. I'm just going to go based off of the film from the 90s that I love. I'm putting it in C tier. But because it has a lot of iterations of it, that probably are varying levels of me. Oh, Thanksgiving. No, no. Because I have seen the first one. I haven't seen Thanksgiving 3, though. I'm putting it in F. It's not good. Even if you watch it, yeah, and have fun with it, it's not good. Sharktopus. I mean, come on, guys. You think I'm going to watch that shit? Grizzly. I'm going to watch that shit. The Woman in Black. D tier. I liked the first one well enough when I saw it, enough to buy it, and enough to buy, I believe, the straight-to-video sequel that I still own. For some reason, it's not good. And the first one was just, it's good enough, I guess. But it's not great. House of Dark Shadows, never seen it. Piranha. Finding Nemo. If you guys are familiar with Finding Nemo. Piranha, we're gonna go in C tier, man. We are. Piranha 2 sucks. Sorry, Jim Cameron. It's not good. There's like flying piranha and shit in it. Piranha 3D, Piranha 3 Double D, have a really fun time with. Could take or leave everything else. We'll put it right in C tier. Birdemic. I mean, come on, guys. It just sounds bad. Haunted House, I never saw that. That's also not a horror movie, but I get it. It's like kind of scary movie, so I get it. Ghoulies. I'll put this in D tier. I have fun with Ghoulies. I probably haven't watched Ghoulies since I was 13 or 14. But again, like I said, with some of these other things I've ranked, it's one of those things where as you're watching it, you are aware that it's not great. Creep, I'll put into C tier because I really did enjoy the first one. The second one I thought was a massive step down, and I have not seen the Creep tapes, so I can't speak to that. But I'll put it in C tier. That one, the first one's good enough. Wolf Creek, I have seen the first and second one. I don't know if there's any more than that. This is going into D tier. No, it's going into F tier. It's going in. I did not like either one of those movies. I'm not even going to try to give a pass to it. It's not good. The Babysitter. I'm going to put this into B tier, surprisingly. I think the first one is definitely better than Killer Queen, but Killer Queen, I think, is fun. And I really hope they do another one of these. It's really hard to gauge success with Netflix, though, like monetarily speaking. But I liked both of them. So I'd like to see them continue that. 28 Days Later. I'm going to be kind here and put this into C tier because I do not care for 28 days at all. 28 weeks I found was solid. And 28 years actually has a really good trailer. So I'm confident that might actually be good. So I'm going to put this in C tier, and I feel good doing that, or good enough. One Missed Call. I didn't know there was a sequel. I thought this was just one movie. It's absolutely an F. That movie sucked. God awful. Puppet Master. I was actually talking to my buddy Jaden about this last night. Got a lot of love for Puppet Master, but it's going into D tier because it's not great. Anybody tells you that it is lying. Poltergeist will go into B tier. And let me explain myself a little bit here with Poltergeist. I think that the original is one of the most effective horror movies I've ever seen personally. I really like Poltergeist 2. I don't care what anybody says. Poltergeist 3, it's just sad that everything happened the way it did with Heather O'Rourke because it could have been different, but circumstances are what they are. And so it's a bummer. It's just a hard situation to try to finish that movie and make it passable. They did the best they could. It's okay, but the remake sucks. Like, again, one of those remakes that's genuinely awful. Dracula, we're going to put Dracula in the B tier here, guy. Yeah, we'll put it in the B tier. That original film is a classic, and then you could go off of variations of Dracula, and that's kind of what we're going to have to do here because, like, even if you want to say like knockoffs of Dracula, like Nosferatu movies or Last Voyage of the Demeter or Renfield, whatever it may be, there's a lot of stuff that is either directly based off Dracula or heavily influenced by. So B tier. Never saw The Prophecy. The Stepfather. I've only seen the original and the remake. I believe I preferred the remake. I'll put that in C tier. Underworld. I'm sorry if you guys love Underworld. This is going into D tier for me. Did not care. Love Kate Beckinsale. You know, she's great in those movies and looks great, but no thanks. The Invisible Man. I have not seen the OG Invisible Man, but I loved Blumhouse's Invisible Man. So I'm going to put that in B tier. I really am. And I feel like that's fair. Gremlins. A tier. Look, the original is a classic, and I actually think that the new batch is pretty damn good. It's not on the level of the first one, so I'll be fair, and I won't put it in S tier. Sam Raimi's Darkman does not get talked about enough. I'm going to put it in C tier. I actually think Darkman is a pretty damn good movie, and again, it is not the movie that people talk about with Sam Raimi, but they probably should, and you'll see a lot of similarity. You see Raimi-isms in all of his movies. He's one of those directors where you can tell when Sam Raimi made a movie. So I'm going to put that there. I feel comfortable with that. Cube. God, I saw that, I believe, on Netflix years ago. I'll put it in D tier. It was barely worth my time. Brendan, well, no, this is just the Mummy, so I have to include Tom Cruise's in there. I'll do C tier because of Tom Cruise's damn Mummy movie. And the third one, not great. But the first two are great. Love Brendan Fraser, and that is a series that I would love to see come back. The Boy. C tier. The first one actually did surprise me. Liked it quite a bit. Genuinely thought the second one was trash. Jack Frost is D tier. Never saw the second one. Maybe I have. Isn't it? I don't know. The first one's not good, but it's fun. I have enough fun with it. Goosebumps. We're talking about the live action movies. Yeah, D tier. I thought the second one was actually kind of fun. As somebody that grew up a Goosebumps fan, I read all those books. You know, Scholastic Book Fair, I would buy them all the time. But I didn't care for the first one, guys. I really didn't. So I was actually surprised to see the second one kind of clean that up a little bit. Unfriended. Might surprise some of you guys. I'm going in B tier. I was really surprised with how much I liked Unfriended, and even more surprised that I liked Dark Web, even though it was very different than the first one. Those are two good movies. If you guys haven't seen them, I recommend you do. Quarantine. This is with Emily Carpenter, right? D tier. I watched it one time. I remember the poster. Yeah, she's like green light. She's like, oh, like yelling. Yeah, that movie. Not a huge fan. Same thing with Rec. I'm sorry, guys, if you guys are big fans of those. It's really hard for me with found footage. Like, it really is. I really got to like you, or I just, yeah. Ghostbusters is going to go solidly into B tier. And this is even coming from someone that has not seen Frozen Empire. Yeah, I get it. I grew up on Ghostbusters. I might be a little biased here. Maybe that's not fair. I don't really care. House. I'll go into C tier. I like House. The second story, we'll do C tier. I don't feel like arguing all day about that. So believe it or not, guys, I have never seen The Creature from the Black Lagoon. Never. I know. What kind of horror fan am I? Reanimator is easily C tier. Huh. Hollow Man. That's what Kevin Bacon, right? That is what I think that's what Kevin Bacon. Yeah, that's going in C tier. I like that movie. They have a sequel, don't they? Okay, haven't seen Witchboard. My mom told me I need to see Witchboard. So I'm going to watch Witchboard. My mom, of all people, said I need to watch it. Grave Encounters. I liked the first one well enough, but it's not great. The second one is doo-doo butt. Except Mike and Jay are in it from We Watched a Movie, so shout out. Slumber Party Massacre, D. It's never been my thing. And I watched the remake, and I remember texting Christian after it, and I was like, I don't really care for that. He's like, oh, I liked it a lot. Frankenstein. B tier. Simply just for my love of the character. Look, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is one of my favorite novels I've ever read. And it's funny because I had to read it in ninth grade for Brit literature. And I was like, God, I hate when I get assigned books. And I loved it. I mean, I loved the book. The original film, the black and white film, I actually really like it. I'm looking forward to, I believe, Maggie Gyllenhaal's take on it. There's been a lot of iterations of the character, but Frankenstein, just like Dracula, I don't know how you can go below B tier. There's just enough there from the, you know, Malevolence, I think is what that says. I've never seen it. I think this says Night of the Demons. Night of the Demons. I'll go C tier. I like those two movies quite a bit. No, I'm thinking of some. No, I'm thinking of Demons. That's going D tier. I do remember watching those on HBO a lot. A lot of boobs in those movies, but not necessarily good movies. Joyride, D tier. Look, shout out to my buddy Justin, Ryan 1988. I know he loves Joyride. I've never loved it. And then Maniac Cop will go squarely into C tier. So there we go. This went well over an hour, guys. That's why I tried to streamline it near the end there and stop giving so many thoughts on each one of them, because I didn't want you here all night. But I hope I did expand upon why I put everything where I did. And, based off of this list, it would have you believe that my favorite horror franchises are Evil Dead, Happy Death Day, Halloween, Scream, It, The Shining, The Thing, A Nightmare on Elm Street, Alien, Silence of the Lambs, Jurassic Park, Gremlins. Yeah, that's probably about right. And then right below that, The Exorcist, Candyman, Child's Play. Yeah, Pet Sematary, Fright Night. Yeah, I think I did a fair job here. But what's the one thing you notice here? What's the one thing I notice? What's the largest section? It's C and D tiers right here. And that is because, and it's saying that like my favorite also, I'm thinking about that now. That's not exactly accurate because I did try to be somewhat unbiased here. I would have put Hellraiser in fucking S tier if it were just based off of like enjoyment. I love Hellraiser. So I did try to be fair. And Saw. I love Saw as well. But yeah, just looking at these, it would tell you that there is a lot of dreck there. There's a lot in horror in general that is just very like forgettable. And so anytime you do a tier list like this, and again, shout out, this was a public tier list that was available here on tiermaker.com. I did not make this, but I appreciate the maker of this list. If it showed your name, I'd shout you out. If it did show your name, I'm sorry, I didn't see it, but shout out for this tier list. You guys can go to tiermaker.com and you can look at this list and make your own. And I encourage you to do so. But I'm just showing you a visual representation on here of like a lot of horror is going to land right there. It's going to land right in that average to below average level. It's just true. And the stuff that's really good stands above. And the stuff that's really bad is really bad and right below it. I'm going to say that I want to give myself a little bit of a pat on the back too and say that I was pretty fair when it at least came to not putting too many in the F tier. I only put a handful of movies series in the F tier. And I truly believe that everything I put into F tier deserves to be there. And then as far as some of these ones that I haven't seen, guys, understand a lot of that was like, we're talking like straight to video, Sci-Fi Channel original stuff. Like there were a couple things in there that I know I need to see, but there was a lot in there that I'm never going to see. I'm never going to watch it. Sharktopus does not sound like something I ever want to fucking watch. And you're never going to convince me that it's something I need to watch. That's just one example. But look, guys, I thought this was fun. I hope you guys enjoyed this. This definitely went more like this could have been a good UNITA episode, honestly. But I feel like I kept the conversation going well enough. I talked my ass off, and now I'm hungry. And putting this out into the world, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what you guys think. It'll be interesting to hear your thoughts and hopefully see your guys' tier rankings. And I'd love to see that. So please do so. And yes, my shirt does say when I'm not eating ass, I'm eating at Chili's. So, hey, again, guys, I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please leave a like, comment down below, and let me know your horror tier list ranking. Do this. Find this template. I will put a link to this template in the comment section down below. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're new here, subscribe. Or if you're not new and you just haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? This is Nick at the Lost River Drive-In. I'm pulling out because I can't wait to get into this comment section. See ya.